everybody. Welcome back to the channel. As always, my name is Andrew Kavanaugh, and I want to say thank you for coming back to Kavanaugh's Corner. Today, we're going to be talking about a movie that was just recently released on 4K Blu-ray. I want to say probably about a week or so ago. I had to order this immediately and ended up watching it this week. And I got to say, this was one that really surprised me, and that is Cool Hand Luke. This is a classic here, starring Paul Newman, just, Strother Martin. There's just so many great actors. Dennis Hopper is in this, very young. George Kennedy won the Oscar for his portrayal of a character named Dragline in this film. Just immense amount of talent in this film. That famous line, what we have here is failure to communicate. Is this one of the greatest lines in film history? And Paul Newman definitely got he got shorted for this. This is a masterful performance. And it's really too bad that he really didn't win an Oscar for like another 20 something years after this movie came out. But it is a fantastic film. It's one that I've always loved. When this was announced that it was coming out on 4K, I was really happy because the Blu-ray of this has been around for quite a long time. And the Blu-ray was not that bad. It was okay. It had some, pretty nice, little few special features in there, but the picture on it was definitely getting dated. And even though it was in HD, it really is not like the greatest transfer ever. And so when I heard that this was coming out and it was going to have HDR10 and everything, I had to pick this up. So let's jump right into this here. What is the picture quality of Cool Hand Luke, this new 4K disc? So I am very happy to announce that the 4K disc itself, the picture quality is really, really good. The image quality overall is extremely vivid compared to what we got before. The skin tones and stuff are fairly accurate. The detail level is off the charts on this. There is so much detail now that you can see, whether it be in the clothing, the surroundings, when they're in their little bunk there where all the prisoners are staying. You can really see a lot of detail. You can kind of see the grime and the dirt and all the gunk and crap that the prisoners are covered with when they're working out on the chain gang, and it's really amazing. Yeah, so this movie came out in 1967, and it really is incredible that, again, a lot of these older films, they translate so well to 4K, just because the image quality that's on that film, on that 35 millimeter film. And this is no different. I mean, this is an astounding looking film. It is so beautiful to look at, actually, that it almost kind of takes away from the story itself now, which is kind of surprising. But Paul Newman, again, he was a big icon when this film came out, and a huge leading man, and his blue eyes in this movie they just pierce right through you now. I mean, it's undeniable this guy had a screen presence that was like no other, but you can really see those blue eyes in an extreme way now. They are just so apparent. It doesn't matter what scene. And again, his performance in this is just incredible, but now you can really see the nuances to his expressions, the big smile that they talk about in the film, that Cool Hand Luke smile. There are a lot of shots that are in like sunrise, sunset, the oranges, the blues, especially, as I mentioned before. Those blue hues are just so vivid now, so beautiful to look at. I did notice that the colors, the alteration of the film itself, it's not a huge differential from what we had before. It's just much more lifelike, and definitely just a lot nicer on the eyes, I would say. The black levels, the scenes that do take place at night, are much better than they were before. I didn't really detect any kind of black crush. I do notice though that there are certain scenes that the color is somewhat saturated, and that could be really the only complaint that I make, is that the saturations of orange especially, but you can really see the fact that there is an oversaturation of maybe orange and I don't want to say blue, but there is a lot of blue in this film, and the blue hues are really, really vivid, and I almost think it's maybe a little too much. But that's a really small complaint for such a fantastic looking movie. In terms of film grain, the film grain in this is, I would say, a low to a medium. It never really is distracting at all. Again, being shot on film, you are going to have that grain. Thankfully, it really wasn't apparent that any kind of really heavy digital noise reduction was used. So you do get that detail level without losing the filmic quality of the movie, and I'm very glad about that. Anytime I see that now, thankfully it's a practice that really has been scaled back a lot, which is great, but you never know. You never know. This did not have anything like that. The movie does hold its true filmic quality. One scene in particular that is probably my favorite scene in the movie, and it's one of those ones where now that the picture quality is so much greater, it has even more of an impact. Is the scene where Cool Hand Luke, where Paul Newman says that he can eat 50 eggs in an hour, and they're peeling the eggs and everything, and you can literally count the little pieces of eggshell that are behind him as he's laying down on the table. It's that good, that the picture quality is that good on this. The other thing I want to talk about with this, as we always do here on the channel, is the audio quality. Now, the audio quality on this is a little bit of a different story. This film, again, like I said, came out in 1967. Most films during this time period, or basically all films, most of the time it was a mono track, meaning it was one speaker, one sound wave, that's it. It's all you had, one channel. This new one does have a DTS HD 2.0 mono. And what they did was they took the mono track and split it. So it's kind of like a fake stereo transfer of the original mono track. And sadly, the original mono, the one track mono, is not on, I don't think it's on either disc that comes with this. Is it any good? It's wildly acceptable, is what I should say. This movie, again, the audio track, it really doesn't lend itself to like a 5.1. Definitely doesn't need a Dolby Atmos track. It really doesn't need that. That DTS HD 2.0 mono is serviceable. It's fine for this movie. It's fine for this movie. It just doesn't really have much fidelity to it. I will say the music did sound really good. Lalo Schifrin did the score for this. The guy has done so many movies. Just look him up. He's one of my favorite composers, and he's actually still alive, I think. But he's done so many great music scores. This is a big one. This is one of his best, and the music sounded great. The dialogue sounded fine. There was no issues with either one of them. There's not a whole heck of a lot else in this movie except for dialogue and music. There's some sound effects here and there, not a whole heck of a lot, but the sound was fine. The audio was fine. There was no issues. It's just very, very no frills audio, and again, it kind of works because this movie, it doesn't have a soundscape that has explosions and gunfire going off all the time. It's people talking and music playing. That's really it for 98% of the film. So it's fine. It's totally fine. No issues there. It's just that if you're expecting like a huge, incredible remaster in terms of sound, you're not really going to get it here. It's just pretty much what we got in the original audio, just kind of split up a little bit. It's fine. It's serviceable. Nothing wrong there. In terms of special features, there is a commentary track by historian, and he's actually a biographer for Paul Newman, Eric Lax. He has a track on here talking about the film, and there's also a documentary about the making of the film, which is actually really interesting because sadly, a lot of the cast and crew of this film have passed away, and they recorded that little documentary. I think it's about a half an hour long. They recorded that before a lot of these guys passed away. George Kennedy, Paul Newman is not interviewed, but his biographer is, and the director. It's really a great little documentary, and Ralph Waite is also interviewed in that. He was a fantastic actor who passed away not long ago, and so it's really cool to see all these guys talking about the film, and I'm glad they did that before we lost them. So good stuff. That 4K disc does have the commentary and the documentary. So if you want to see those, you don't have to switch the discs. They actually are on both discs, which is really nice. Thank you for that, Warner Brothers. Overall, I mean, the disc is really well made. It's a great 4K disc. It's a phenomenal movie. I can't really think of much to say negatively about it. I was pleasantly surprised in how good the transfer was and how beautiful the movie looked. In terms of sound, like I said, there's really nothing to write home about, but it was pretty good for what you get out of the film. Can't complain. If you want to pick up Cool Hand Luke, I'll put a link in the description where you can purchase it on Amazon. If you do buy it on Amazon, I do get a little kickback here on the channel. It helps me out quite a lot. And that's pretty much it for this week on Kavanaugh's Corner. I just want to say thank you so much for coming back to the channel. If you like my reviews here, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below so you can see my next video when it gets released. My video schedule has usually been around every Sunday I release a video. That seems to be when you guys watch the most, so I try to get them out every Sunday. Till next time, please stay safe and take it easy.